So, Dr. Kiltz, I've been eating nothing but beef, salt, and water for the past couple of weeks. Am I going to totally wreck my hormones?
That is horrible what you're doing. You are going to be so amazingly healthy. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, what are you doing? It is the very most amazing nutrition for us human beings because we are lions and we were built like lions. We evolved like lions, and eating that dietary plan is the proper human diet. Plants are basically birth control, and also the abortion pill is made from plants. So I tell all of my patients as a fertility physician, it's steak, water, salt is the primo, but I always add in the bacon, eggs, butter, beef, because that's the baby's way, according to Kiltz. So I would say you're doing perfect. I recommend it for everyone. That's the best elimination diet you can ever do. And throughout pregnancy, when you're breastfeeding and beyond, and your child should do the same thing once it's done breastfeeding.
Okay, so that would lead me into my next question of, would this diet be okay for someone who is trying to get pregnant and experiencing difficulties?
Well, I believe the cause of infertility, which is on the rise, is a plant-based low animal fat diet. And I've seen so many of my patients go to carnivore and bingo, get pregnant naturally without the expensive or interventional treatments that we do in modern fertility. So certainly a animal-based, high-fat, low to no plants are going to be the very best for all of us. And so steak, salt, and water, again, eliminates the plants that contain the phytochemicals, the estrogen, progesterones, and the androgens that are damaging our reproductive system, act like a birth control pill, and phytates, lectins, and oxalates. I just got through reading Sally Norton's book on toxic superfoods that I know because I suffered, but they're the cause of all of our damage. And infertility is just another one of the long list of human suffering on a plant-based low animal fat diet. So I say go right at it. It's the healthiest thing you can do. And I recommend it before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and afterwards. And men need to do the same thing because sperm is being damaged by the plants, which ultimately are the predators, and we're the prey. We are just been taken over by the propaganda of the plant-based nutritionists, which have been controlled by the plants.
We shouldn't be worried about robots. We should be worried about the plants taking over.
When you eat the plants, they actually make us domesticated. Domestic animals will line up in a herd, a pig pen, a sheep pen, a corral for cows, and ultimately lions don't line up. They just pick which of the plant-based eaters to eat.
So you did say that you would recommend this way of eating for someone who is pregnant, but would you also recommend them adding anything or taking any sort of supplements, or is just beef, salt, and water an okay option throughout pregnancy?
Well, I like to throw in some organ meats because I imagine that a lion, as we evolved throughout our years of going from a tree dweller to a grass hunter in the grasslands as hunting for the herbivores. So I would say that I recommend some organ meats. I don't know if we know the absolute answer, but I like it's a 1-to-1 fat to protein or 2-to-1 fat to protein, but you want to focus on fat first. It's far more important in our nutrition than protein, believe it or not. And absolutely, I think this is the most critical and amazing thing. So you don't need the supplements. Some people choose to take some of the organ supplements or liver supplements if they want, but I think that a fatty meat, a little bit of organ meats, salt and water is the home run.
Okay. And you also mentioned how you've had success with clients in the past who have gone carnivore and have gotten pregnant. If someone has been carnivore for a length of time, a certain length of time, and they're still experiencing difficulties, what would you suggest after that point, or how long do you think it would take for them to heal completely and see results?
Well, it depends on how much damage. If the ovaries are significantly damaged, or the fallopian tubes have been damaged, endometriosis, adenomyosis, and uterine fibroids are all plant-based, low animal fat diseases. And so once the organs or the testicles are significantly damaged, including to the point that they're so fibrotic, there's no more functional tissue left, then that's when you certainly need some help. But many people, because of damaged tubes, severe endo, need to get some help or not ovulating. But 2 to 3 months, well, let's say 2 to 6 months is a good window. If it's not happening naturally, it's a good idea to talk to someone to get some basic testing, make sure you have sperm, your ovarian function looks reasonable, your fallopian tubes are open, and you have no significant anatomical damage that might require some either surgical intervention or other medical intervention to help you. But I've seen so many people with significant low ovarian reserve suddenly begin to ovulate and get pregnant in their 40s to late 40s for sure.
In your professional opinion, then, can anyone do a plant-based diet in a healthy way if they are looking to reproduce? Because I mean, there have been vegans who have gotten pregnant and things like that. Is it ever possible to do it in a healthy way?
Well, a purely plant-based diet is not sufficient without supplementation. That means you have to have some industrial product in order to help you be healthy. So I would say it's not good for any woman to be doing it or man to be doing it of any length, in my opinion. Now, if you're young enough, and in many cases, you haven't been vegan that long, and for whatever reason, you've managed to miss the damage to the purely plant-based, no animal fat or protein diet, you've lucked out. But it isn't normal or natural for us to sustain that diet for any significance. And there is a higher risk of all the diseases, including male and female infertility, along with other reproductive dysfunction, severe pelvic pain, menstrual disorders, bladder problems, bowel problems, that are all part of a low animal fat, low or no animal protein diet. So I don't recommend it for anyone, but people are choosing it because of plant propaganda, I believe, that's convincing them that the animals are killing the world, and they've forgotten that maybe the humans are killing the world, and the cows and the plants had nothing to do with it. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, I think you did. And then you also mentioned that you would suggest this way of eating for kids as well, which is not a lot of carnivores have their kids on a carnivore diet, but you think that is the best way for kids, especially after they're done breastfeeding from that young age?
We evolved eating fatty animal meat and organ meats. We did not eat plants of any significance or frequency. They weren't available. And why would you eat that when you got the most important, sustainable, and best food to eat, which is a fatty, meaty animal? And so from once you're pregnant, you want to stay a carnivore on the lion's diet, or the lion's way, I like to call it, because when you eat a plant-based diet when you're pregnant, you're actually taking those plant toxins, the chemicals, the addictive foods that are in plants, and feeding it to your growing child. I believe it makes them addicted, damaged, well before they're born. And again, birth defects and genetic disorders are likely due to the plant chemicals, the sugars, and the inflammation that's caused. And so once your child is born, you want to maintain that so the baby's breast milk has the most nutrient dense food for a human, which is fatty meats, and eliminate those toxins again, which one, they got into the baby through the placenta, and now they're getting into the baby through the breast milk. And so we're all worried about pharmaceutical agents getting through the breast milk. Well, you forgot about the first pharmaceutical agents ever developed, which was plant-based chemicals. And so once you've delivered that baby, it's done breastfeeding, that baby is a lion also. And so it should go from milk from the breast to meat on the bone. That is the very best way. You can take organ meats and grind them up. My bet is if you look at what many mammals, the carnivores, do, they will go hunting. They will then bring back the partially digested meat and regurgitate it for those post or currently breastfeeding or post breastfeeding growing animals. And so I really believe our post breastfeeding babies should do carnivore, and then every human being should do that, because I personally had dyslexia, ADHD, OCD, migraines, bowel problems as a child. And, you know, it was just, I was told, well, I got these problems, or I can't read, I'm disabled essentially, but no one ever linked the fact that the healthy cereals and vegetables and the industrial produced foods, and even some of the fruits and vegetables and honey, could be deadly and dangerous for us in any significance. So we need to understand that our babies are developing adult human beings. And so as an adult human being, I've learned as a 67-year young human being, almost, that I've never felt better on a animal-based nutritional plan.
So when you say any significance or frequency, what would you define as eating something in a significant, in a frequent way? How
Every day.
Because with your ice cream, you have some vanilla in your ice cream.
I put a little bit of vanilla bean, and I put a little bit of white sugar, a lot of cream, and egg. Now, I may have it with sugar, small amounts, maybe once a week. Simple sugars are taken to the liver quickly, converted to fat fast. Complex sugars, okay, vegetables, fruit, fiber, seeds, and nuts, break down to sugar, but it takes time. That means your bowels have been full of plants the day you're born to the day you die. You're always secreting sugar into the bloodstream. Insulin's always going up. It's your sugars are damaging your liver, along with the phytochemicals and the plant antigens. Now, interesting enough, a small amount of a plant glycan, that's called a plant sugar. See, people only think about glucose and fructose, but there are many plant sugars called glycans. They elicit an inflammatory reaction. Some of those inflammatory reactions may be an anaphylactic one, and you die quickly. But most of them are silent and slow. I call it silently sick. And so infrequent might be once a week, once a month, once a year. It depends. But I know of no case where someone has died of an anaphylactic reaction due to a ribeye steak. And so, again, fish products, shellfish, crabs, and plant material is highly antigenic. That means it elicits an inflammatory reaction in the mouth, the tongues, the glands, the thyroid, the esophagus, all over our body. We can die quickly and or slowly. And this is one of the reasons I don't recommend daily consumption of fruit, honey, and even milk products cheese and cream and butter. Cream and butter mostly are more okay for most of us. Some of us can't tolerate it because there's proteins and sugars that are the antigenic components. Fat's fat. When I say fat, that's fat from an animal, not oils from a plant. So it's the anaphylactic, the silent inflammation that you may be fine for years until you get cancer, you die of a stroke, or heart disease when you least expected it. I've got healthy friends that have died, and now I believe it's because of a healthy, plant-based, low animal fat diet.
That's all the questions that I have. Where can people go to find you, to follow you, or your website, all that?
Well, it's drkiltz.com to learn more about some of the things that I've learned as a physician on this journey. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and whatever it is, but go to drkiltz.com. My job in life is to uncover the truth about what we've been learning as human beings as the incorrect advice. And I'm a fertility doctor, but if you're infertile or you know someone who is, carnivore is the way. And it is like radically amazing, but the propaganda is strong out there. So lions beware. The sheep, they're wearing lion skin. So you think they're just like you, but they may not be. So just check out my stuff on drkiltz.com. That's the very best place, Jess. I really appreciate what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me.
Always a pleasure.